So guys, please confirm to me all of you read my voice on screen, those who are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me all of you read my voice on screen, those who are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me all of you read my voice on screen, those who are attending in online. Restart endade. Yeah. All right, sir. So what we are understanding there in the last class, I think so Hibernate features, the topic here we understood. Associations and some differences, it's okay, fine. Now coming to the Hibernate features, then after that we need to understand. I think I've given information about like what their Hibernate architecture. We'll understand one by one, all the components there. Don't worry for it. First of all, understand it. What exactly the Hibernate? If you are getting any question now, what is Hibernate? What exactly the things are available, features are available for Hibernate? If you have this question, there we can give these many points now. The very first point here, what I am telling to you, Hibernate is a database independent. Hibernate, for Hibernate or through Hibernate, we can connect with Oracle, we can connect with MySQL, we can connect with SQL Server, anything. We can use any database. But Hibernate application, operations inside the Hibernate are very same. Any database we can use for our Hibernate applications. Hibernate is not having any changes in the Hibernate code. Only one property we are going to select. That property is what the dialect property. Only one simple property feature. For example, if we use Oracle, there we have to provide Oracle dialect. If we use MySQL, there it will we have to specify what their MySQL dialect. If we use SQL Server or SQL Server dialect, we have to specify. That's it. Automatically, it's going to connect with what the respective database. That's okay. Fine. Leave it. Next one is what Hibernate is suitable for all the types of applications. See the point. The greatness of this Hibernate is what. For example, if we take EJBs is a solutions now, it must require application server. Under the server environment only, EJB applications will execute. In the case of Hibernate, that application server is not mandatory. With or without the application server, we can execute it. With the application server in the sense, maybe web applications or maybe distributed applications. Without the application server in the sense, we can understand it is like what their standalone applications. So we can use Hibernate for standalone applications. We can use Hibernate for standalone applications, web applications, distributed applications, any type of applications can. By this we can understand clearly portability is more. Hibernate is having what there more portability when compared with other solutions. Hibernate is able to provide very good support for associations and joins. We are going to see that practically. Associations are nothing but what there one-to-one association, one-to-many association, many-to-one, many-to-many. These associations, Hibernate had very good support for these associations and joining two tables, left join, left outer join like this. That we are going to understand. Hibernate has a annotation support to reduce XML dependency. Exactly. Hibernate 3.2.x version. Hibernate 3.2.4 version, purely XML based. Hibernate 3.2.5, right from that, annotation support is available. So when annotations are introduced in Java, right from that, Hibernate is also be having annotations. When annotations are used, automatically XML dependency here we are able to reduce. So Hibernate is having annotation support to reduce what their XML configurations. Right. Then another one is what there. Hibernate has its own primary key generation algorithms. Hibernate has its own implementations for what their primary key generation algorithms. What exactly this primary key generation algorithms now? So many primary key generation algorithms are available. In general, previously what happened there, if we prepare an application, definitely some form we are going to prepare. Say for example, employee form if we create now, where employee number, employee name, employee salary, and employee address, like this case we are giving. Internally database table we are going to take. In the database table might be ENO, ENAME, ECL and EADD table is available. If we ask the user to enter primary key value, user may enter primary key value, but there is no guarantee that value is in unique value or not. Answer my point here. There is no guarantee whether that value is unique value or not. If you're depending on the user to get primary key value, there is no guarantee. You know already the point here. Primary key values must be unique values. Primary key values must be what they're unique values. There is no guarantee whether user is providing unique values or not. To overcome this problem, what we have to do, don't ask that user to enter primary key value. There we have to generate the primary key value in our own way. To generate the primary key values in our own way inside the applications, we have a number of algorithms. But all these algorithms are supported or not supported, that depends on the technologies what we are using. JDBC is not providing any support for primary key generation algorithms, but Hibernate is providing support for what their primary key generation algorithms. That's why I said to you, Hibernate has its own implementations for primary key generation algorithms. As per that only, we are going to generate the primary key values inside our applications. Understand it now? Up to Hibernate in the real-time application development, lightly we are going to use these primary key generation algorithms, not frequently. But when it comes to the Spring Boot, Spring Data JPA, there maximum we are going to use primary key values through the primary key generation algorithms only. But there, if you want to understand the primary key generation algorithms concepts there, we are going to understand the primary key generations inside what there Hibernate only. Directly in a Spring Boot data JPA topic is available. Inside this data JPA, I'm going to use directly primary key generation algorithm. I'm not going to explain there. Directly I'm going to use it. But the origin is coming from what there Hibernate only. Okay, it has its own primary key generation algorithms. By that we are able to provide the content. Next one is Hibernate has provided very good collections support. How collection support is required? How it is required here collection support? No, very simple. In my database table, I have 10 records. 10 employee records are available. I want to retrieve all of them. If it is JDBC, we are going to use result set rs is equal to st.execute query select a star from emp1 table. There we are getting 10 records into the result set object. After that, what we have to do? We need to take one employee class, bean class. Then we have to read one record from result set. That record we are going to keep in what their employee bean object. Like this 10 records data we have to get, 10 bean objects we have to get, we have to copy the data to 10 bean objects. All the 10 bean objects we are getting separately. After getting these 10 bean objects, we have to keep all these 10 bean objects in a list object. That list object we can send it to might be some other application. So how much work we are doing manually? First we created result set object. From the result set object, we retrieved each and every record. Each and every record must be stored in the form of a separate bean object. 10 records, 10 bean objects are created. At a time, I'm not going to send 10 bean objects to some other application. If you want to send them to some other, I need to take one collection object, maybe list or set or whatever it may be. Some list object I have to take. Inside the list object, all 10 bean objects I have to keep. Then only I have to send these 10 bean objects to what there? To the respective collection object. Yes, sir. All of you are following this point or not? This is what exactly the work we have to follow in general in result set now inside this JDBC. But when it comes to Hibernate, a simple method is available. Simple method. If we call this Java method, that everything, whatever the work I have explained up to now, that everything could be done internally. Finally, we are able to get directly a list object. Everything, that mapping and whatever it may be, everything is going and internally. Finally, we are able to get what there a list object. That list object directly we can get as a return value from a particular method. That's finished. Got my point or not? So in that way, we are able to get what their collection support. See how much work is reduced for the developer if the collection support is available directly. If we call a method, say for example, get employees method, if I call no, automatically it will retrieve all the employees. It will convert the employees records into the objects. All the objects are going to be kept inside the list object. Finally, that list object is returned. Once we are getting list object, no, we can use that list object might be in somewhere else. No? Right, sir. This is one thing. Next one is Hibernate has its own query languages in the form of HQL. First of all, understand one point here. What is going on inside the Hibernate actually? Inside the Hibernate, developers are not going to write any SQL query. Writing SQL query is against to the Hibernate rules and regulations. Is a crime. Writing SQL queries is a crime. Every database operation we have to do through Java methods. In that way, we are having some Java methods. Answer my point here. Even though these many Java methods are available, but still there is a requirement to go for some queries. There is a requirement to go for what their queries. Even though these many Java methods are available, but still there is a requirement to use queries. Right. Instead of using directly database dependent SQL queries, Hibernate has its own query language. That query language is what their HQL. What is it actually? HQL, Hibernate Query Language. This HQL is almost the same as SQL queries, but not SQL queries. In SQL queries, we are going to perform operations on the base of table names, column names, right, primary key columns like this. But in the case of HQL, we are not going to perform operations on table name, column names, primary key column. We are going to perform operations on bean class. Employee is a class name we are going to use, property names we are going to use, not a database table column names, property names we are going to use. So that is a specialty with what their HQL. Then we are able to perform almost all the operations what we are expecting through SQL queries. In SQL queries, whatever the operations we are doing, the same operations we can do with what their HQL queries also. Sir, are you following or not? Understanding what I'm telling there? Okay, right, sir. Next one is Hibernate has its own implementations for the caching mechanisms. Hibernate has its own implementations for the caching mechanisms. Hibernate has its own implementations for the caching mechanisms to hold the results in order to reuse the same results in the applications. Okay, now try to understand one point here I'm telling to you now. For example, I have a requirement in my Hibernate application. What is my requirement now? I want to perform search operation for an employee 10 times in the next 10 times. So as part of it, I need to retrieve one employee data from the database table. How many times? No, 10 times. 10 times I want to read an employee data. Same employee, not a different employee. Same employee data I want to retrieve. Okay, 10 times I need to execute the query, select SQL query. When we execute the 10 times the select SQL query, when we execute the select SQL query 10 times, when we execute the select SQL query 10 times, what is going to be happen there? What is going to be happen when we execute the select SQL query 10 times? No. First time select SQL query, connect with the database, fetch the data. Second time select SQL query, connect with the database, fetch the data. Third time select SQL query execution, connect with the database, fetch the data. 10 times we have to establish connection with the database. 10 times we have to send SQL query. 10 times we have to retrieve the data. Now tell me, how many times we have to hit the database? 10 times we have to connect with the database or not? This is burdenful process. As you know, already the same results we are getting now, we need to go for an alternative. What is that alternative here? Observe carefully. When first time we are executing select SQL query, connect with the database, get the results. But whatever the results we are getting, keep the results in a cache memory. Keep the result in what their cache memory. Cache memory is for the reusability purpose. When second time the same SQL query, if you want to execute, when we are executing second time the same results now, same SQL query, then second time internally Hibernate will not connect with the database. It will connect with the cache memory where with respect to this particular query, result is already available or not. If result is available, it will get that result. The results will be given back to what their Hibernate application. Third time, connect with the cache memory. Fourth time, connect with cache memory only. Fifth time, connect with the cache memory only. But every time it will not connect with what the database. But without connecting with the database every time, if it is getting data from the cache memory in the sense, total process is simplified or not? Lot of time will be saved or not? Performance of the database operations will be improved or not? That's why caching mechanisms are required. Hibernate has its own cache mechanisms to reuse the Hibernate has its own cache mechanisms implementations to reuse the results of executing the SQL queries, results of performing the database operations frequently. Which operations we want to perform frequently? The database operations. No, its respective results are maintained in the cache memory. That results we are going to reuse whenever we require the same kind of results in our Hibernate applications. That is one point here I'm telling you. Next one is Hibernate has a very good connection pooling mechanisms. Whenever we are working with the databases now, whenever we are interacting with the databases now, connections reusability is required. Connection objects reusability is required. If we want to maintain that connection objects reusability, there we have to use connection pooling mechanisms. Hibernate, JDBC is not having good support for connection pooling mechanisms, but Hibernate is having very good support for what are their connection pooling mechanism. Hibernate has its own connection pooling mechanism internally. Default connection pooling mechanism is available. Not only that, it supports for third-party connection pooling mechanisms. It supports for what their application servers provided JNDI connection pooling mechanisms. So these many approaches are available here inside this Hibernate. So it has very good connection pooling mechanisms. Hibernate is supported by almost all the servers and IDs, definitely. Eclipse ID is supporting this Hibernate, or maybe my Eclipse is supporting that, IntelliJ ID is supporting that. We are having some support for Hibernate applications. Not only that, servers are also be supporting what their Hibernate here now. So support is available in the sense portability is coming. More portability here we are getting. In a Hibernate, it is not required to write SQL queries. Yeah, definitely. In Hibernate, I said you already. The main intention of the Hibernate is what there to reduce or to remove SQL queries in the database applications. As much as possible to remove SQL queries execution inside the database applications. In place of this SQL, we can perform some Java methods only. We can execute Java methods only. There we have to get the output. So this is an advantage of what there Hibernate. Java developer not required to know about SQL, not required to know about what their query languages. No, Hibernate is again is to do what their query languages can. Next one is Hibernate is providing very good transaction support. Again, I'm telling there, Hibernate is supporting for what the transactions very well. JDBC is providing limited support for the transactions. Moreover, boilerplate code, hard-coded kind of approaches we have to use. But here we are going to use declarative mechanism. Just simply declare the concepts inside the XML file. Automatically, the transactions here we are able to achieve. Right. Overall, these are the various points here we are understanding about what their Hibernate features. Observe carefully. After this, what next one here? Hibernate architecture. So what is this Hibernate architecture? What we are getting there? What we are getting there? Understand it clearly. Hibernate architecture. Inside this Hibernate architecture, what are the various components are available mainly? If you observe this, first one is Hibernate software. Okay. Next one is what their configuration file. Next one is what their mapping file. Next one is what their database client application. Now we are going to understand each and every one. What is the purpose of this Hibernate configuration file? It is able to manage all the configuration details which are required to load Hibernate software or which are required to establish connection with the databases. In general, if you want to establish connection with the databases, what parameters we require now? Tell me. Driver is required. When we require driver class name is required. Driver URL is required. Database username is required. Database password is required. Got my point or not? Which database we are using, its related information we require to provide. That is dialect property we have to provide. So all these details here we are going to provide inside like what their Hibernate configuration file. All these details here we are going to provide in what their Hibernate configuration file. Got my point or not? Okay, fine. What about this mapping file here? Mapping file, the name itself is giving clarity. Mapping file is able to provide mapping between POSO class names, POSO class properties, POSO class names, Java bean components only inside the Hibernate and the respective database table. For example, here we are going to take employee is a class name. Employee to EMP1. EMP1 is a table name. Employee is a class name. ENY is a property name. Here ENY is a column name. E name, E cell, EADDR. Here also E name, E cell here. These mapping details are maintained in what their mapping details are provided in what their Hibernate mapping file. Employee.hpm.xml is the default name of this mapping file. See, now what is this ORM actually? ORM stands for what? Object relational mapping. Mapping between object oriented elements and relational data elements. That mapping could be done through XML file or through what their annotations. Same, now we are using what their XML file. This XML file is representing mapping details here now. Alright, sir. This is one point. Client application. What is the purpose of this client application actually? The main intention of the client application is what? Three things. Mainly here we are getting what are there? Three things. What are the three things about this client applications? Now, first one is activate a Hibernate software. Yes, sir. Activate Hibernate software. When we activate Hibernate software will take all the configuration details from what their configuration file and establish connection with what their database. It will make ready the database connection and everything. And moreover, it will make ready that mapping files also. Just making ready mapping files. Just loading that mapping files and making ready that mapping files. Next one. Second one is what they create persistence object. Of course, we are creating this persistence object. Next one is what they perform persistence operation. Save of EMP1. When we call save of EMP1, then immediately what Hibernate software will do, Hibernate software will listen that method. Then with respect to that method, it will contact with what their employee.html.xml, where it will get all the mapping details. On the basis of the poso class name, table name it will take. On the basis of the properties names, column names it will take now. Whatever the properties are available inside the CMP1, correspondingly it will identify the table name and the corresponding column names. Right, after getting database provided table name and column names, then Hibernate software will prepare one SQL query internally. Database dependent SQL queries will be created internally. Then Hibernate software will execute that SQL query. By the execution of that SQL query, the respective database operations will be performed. When the respective database operations are performed there, automatically the resulted values are coming there to the Hibernate software. Hibernate software will send the resultant values back toward their client application. Now client application is able to display that values to the respective user. This is what exactly that internal content which is going on inside our Hibernate software. That means inside this Hibernate architecture. Is that all of you are getting it or not? The main intention of this Hibernate architecture is what they're just introducing the characters of the Hibernate. Introducing the characters of what they're Hibernate components. Is that are you getting my point or not? See, for example, if you go for a movie, in that movie, first half an hour, what is going on? Directly want to see that main story of that movie, no? First half an hour of the movie, nothing is going to be happen. Just it is an introduction for all characters. Think about it. Take any movie. First half an hour only introduction of all characters. First hero introduction. Next heroine introduction. Next comedian's introduction. Next villain introduction. Understand it clearly. Step by step, they are going to introduce first half an hour only introductions. After that, actual story will start. Hibernate architecture just is introducing all the characters. These are the main components of the Hibernate. Nothing is there. Nothing is available apart from this. These are the main components of the Hibernate here. Right. So now we need to prepare some diagrammatic view. We need to prepare some document here. Now all of you understand it. First of all, tell me. First of all, I want to take like what there Hibernate configuration file. What is the purpose of Hibernate configuration file? Let us understand it clearly. Where the Hibernate configuration file, where the Hibernate configuration file will have the Hibernate configuration details like a driver class name, driver URL, database username, database password, database dialect configurations, dialect information, and so on, which are required to establish which are required to establish connection with the database. Right, sir? In the simple words, this is the meaning of like what there Hibernate configuration file. Complete details about this configuration file we will discuss in the future. Steps to prepare first Hibernate application I will take now after completion of this. Then I'm going to discuss about the total details about this Hibernate software. Don't worry for it. Next one is Hibernate configuration file. Now tell me what next one here now Hibernate mapping file. What is the purpose of this Hibernate mapping file? It will provide mapping between object-oriented elements with what their relational database, relational model elements. Alright, sir. Where Hibernate mapping file will provide the mapping details between the POSO class, comma POSO class properties with the database table name and the database column names and so on. Right, sir? Now this is the requirement of like what their mapping file. That's the intention of this mapping file. Next one is what is that next component here? We can understand it here. Client application. What is the purpose of this client application? No, there are the three main things. No, right, sir. Where the main purpose of the client application, the main purpose of the client application is first one is activate the Hibernate software. Next one is what there create persistence object. Now next one is what there after creating persistence objects perform the persistence operations. Perform what their persistence operations. These are overall the main components of main things about like what their client applications. Understand it clearly. Now when we activate Hibernate software, what is going to be happen? That we have to understand. Now tell me again. When we activate Hibernate software, then what Hibernate software will do? Hibernate software will get all the configuration details from the mapping configuration file, and it will establish a connection with the database. It will make ready the database, and it will load the mapping file, and it will make ready this mapping file. Got my point or not? It will make ready what their mapping file details. That's it. Now this is exactly the meaning of like what their mapping file. That means Hibernate activating the Hibernate software. Come again. Get all the details from configuration file. Get the connection and making ready what their mapping file for the sake of mapping purpose. They are the details of like what their Hibernate software activation. Right. When we activate Hibernate software, observe carefully. When we activate Hibernate software, Hibernate software will reach all the Hibernate configuration file. Hibernate software will read all the Hibernate configuration details from the configuration file and Hibernate software will create connection with the database. Hibernate software will create connection with the database, and it will make ready, and Hibernate software will make ready the mapping file, mapping details, in the sense mapping file. This is when we activate the Hibernate software. Got it or not? Next one is creating persistence object is like what there normal. Just it's a matter of creating object only. Understand it now? Just it's a matter of creating like what there object only, not more than that. All right, sir. It's okay, fine. After completion of this, when we perform persistence operations, what is going to be happen? All right, sir. Now observe carefully. After creating the persistence object in the sense bean object only, not any other one. Employee object. Persistence object is what there employee object where data is available, persistence data. That's it. After creating persistence object, and if we access any persistence methods after creating the persistence object, and if we access any persistence method, then the Hibernate software will perform the following actions. Hibernate software will perform the following actions. What actions here we are able to get here? Now understand it clearly. Hibernate software will perform the following actions. Point number 1. Hibernate software will take the persistence object. Hibernate software will recognize the persistence method. That means persistence method and its persistence object, persistence method, and the provided persistence object. Next one is what there. Hibernate software will go to the mapping file and get all the database related data on the basis of the POSO class name, comma, POSO class properties, or maybe on the basis of the persistence object properties. After that, Hibernate software will create the database dependent SQL queries. After that, Hibernate software will execute the generated SQL queries. Finally, Hibernate software will send the return values to the client application. Right, so now these are the various activities that Hibernate software is able to perform. Once again, I'm telling there, interviewer may ask this question to you know. What is the role of the Hibernate software inside the Hibernate? Simple part. When we call a persistence method, in a simple outline information, if you want to say, when we call a persistence method in the client application, Hibernate software will prepare SQL queries internally. It will perform the database operations by executing that SQL queries. That's it. The main job of the Hibernate software is what there? Generate SQL queries and performing database operations by executing that SQL queries. But how that SQL queries are going to be created? That is on the basis of the persistence method what we have used. If we use save method, insert SQL query. If we use get method, select SQL query. If we use update method, update SQL query. If we use delete method, delete SQL query. I'll forget my point or not. Depending on the persistence method only, internally SQL queries are going to be generated. What SQL query that Hibernate software is generating, that we can see. Programmatically we can see, and console I can display in the future. And the console I can display what exactly that internal query which was generated by Hibernate. We are able to see that explicitly. But in a standard way, it will create an SQL query. But that SQL queries are what? Database dependent SQL queries. That SQL queries are what there? Database dependent SQL queries. Alright, fine. Now this is the total story about like what there SQL queries, then all we are getting clearly. Alright, so leave this one. After completion of this total Hibernate architecture content here, the next one is steps to prepare Hibernate applications. Steps to prepare Hibernate applications. Steps to prepare what there? Hibernate applications. Right, sir. All of you observe carefully. I think some steps here I'm going to provide. Inside some steps, no, some steps are unnecessary. Already we have done them. Unnecessary, but still I'm going to give a list of content. Okay. First of all, download and install Hibernate software. Download and install what there? Hibernate software. This is first one. Next one, after this, download and install Hibernate software. Next one is after completion of this, see, making ready Java software, making ready database software, and making ready like what there Eclipse ID or IntelliJ ID. I think these are not required for you. Yes, sir. I think already we had all this environment, right? All this environment database is available, Eclipse ID is available, IntelliJ ID is available. All right, almost all the elements here we are getting. No need to get ready all of them, right? Fine. Next one is after this download and install Hibernate software. Nothing is there. Installation is nothing now. Downloading in the sense what there? Jar files we are going to download. Zip file we are going to download. If you open it, jar files are coming. Keep the jar files into what there? Project. That's it. Now okay. Create a Java project in IDE. Okay. For example, if I'm telling what there? Eclipse IDE. Create a Java file. Create a Java project in Eclipse IDE and attach all the Hibernate dependent jar files in the build path. Are you aware about this step now? In JDBC, we might be added the jar file to the build path. Right click on project and properties, Java build path, libraries. There we need to go for external jar files, add external jars now. Then select the jar file, click on OK buttons like this. I think this process we are aware. Okay, right. This is what I'm telling there. Create a jar of project in Eclipse IDE and attach all the Hibernate dependent jar files in the build path. Complete it. Next one. From this point onwards here, we have to understand. Create a POSO class. Create what there? POSO class as per the requirement. Create a POSO class as per the requirement. After creating POSO class, what next one you know? Create a mapping file. Create a mapping file. Create Hibernate mapping file. Hibernate mapping file. Create a Hibernate configuration file. Create a Hibernate configuration file. Okay. Create configuration file is okay. Create a test application to test the Hibernate application. Create a test application to test Hibernate application. These are overall the steps here what we are having. Yes, sir. Got it or not? Now tell me. First one is what there? Download and install Hibernate software. Create a Java project in Eclipse IDE and attach all the Hibernate dependent jar files in the build path. Create a POSO class as per the requirement. Create a Hibernate mapping file. Create Hibernate configuration file. Create a test application. These are our overall steps here what we are getting. Yes, sir. All of you are getting it or not? And before that, I'm asking to you, all of you are having Maven awareness? Maven tool. The small, I think in the Spring applications we are using it, right? You're not having awareness on it, Maven. No? Okay, don't worry. I'll give a set of videos to you about this. Now try to go through that videos there so that we'll plan for it, but not immediately. I'll give set of videos to you. Try to follow that. Meanwhile, daily one video, two videos. No, it's a matter of 5 or 6 videos max. Just follow them. After that, automatically we are going to understand the content what I'm going to explain there, but not immediately. Maybe after completion of basic applications in Hibernate, at one particular point, I will go with what there Maven applications inside the Hibernate. Okay, all right, sir. Do this one. Now coming to the next one, download and install Hibernate software. Download and install Hibernate software. All right, sir. Observe carefully. Initial programming, I want to start with the Hibernate 3.x version. But the same program we can run even Hibernate 5 and Hibernate 6 also. But initially, I want to start our programming with the Hibernate 3.x version. Okay, now let's understand this now. Download the Hibernate software from the following link. First of all, understand it. What is this Hibernate software? What is the meaning of downloading Hibernate software? For example, Java software I want to download. If I download Java software, what I'm able to get? Directly .exe file we are getting. Am I right or not? So JDK 1.7.0 or 1.17.0.bin.exe file we are getting. If we double click on that exe file, that installation process will start. Next buttons, maybe JDK locations we have to specify that, then finally finish button. That is the meaning of finish installation and downloading of the Java software. Got my point or not? But don't expect the same thing in the case of Hibernate, in the case of Spring. Spring is a product. Hibernate is also a product. The product libraries are provided in the form of jar files. All the jar files are provided in the form of a zip file. Understand it, Ken? So downloading zip file, extract that zip file, jar files you are able to get, add the jar files in our project build path. Simply create a core Java project and add them to the project build path. That's it. That only the process. There is no separate mechanism for installation of the Hibernate. Hibernate is not like any software. Hibernate is not like what there any installable software. Hibernate is a collection of jar files. Hibernate is what there collection of jar files that we are going to download, that we are going to keep in the class path in order to get support from Hibernate. Hibernate application is not any other application. Core Java program only. Hibernate application is what there core Java program only, but we are adding extra Hibernate jar files. Some other components we are going to prepare. Okay, now I'm going to download the jar files. So download Hibernate software from the following link. See this now, just Google it. Oh, it is coming there. Okay. All right, sir. Now what I'm telling there, Hibernate downloads. Directly I want to say like what there, Hibernate 3 download. I require this version only. I don't want to go for too much, immediately too much complex content here. Immediately I want to download what there, Hibernate. See, observe carefully. Hibernate 3 we are going to get from SourceForge. SourceForge.net is one of the websites there. From that we are able to get the Hibernate. Almost all it is acting as the repository. There we are able to get so many softwares now. From Java to S also we are able to get individual things now. All right, sir. Jars download also here we are able to get it here. But religious information we are able to get in what there, hibernate.org. Hibernate.org is an official website for our Hibernate, right? From where also we are able to get it. Or else maybe from like what their repositories are available. Maven repository is available. By going through that Maven repository also, we can get what their Hibernate softwares. All right, sir. Now different Java 4s, even from his also we are able to download it. All right, sir. Now installing Hibernate is not required. Just leave this one. So finally here I want to go with what their sourceforge.net. Let me open a new tab. Different things are available that we are able to use there. Now see this one. 3.6.10.final is the version information. Already 14 downloads are available in this location here. Just we can identify this. Version wise we are getting that one. 3.6.10 final. Yes sir. What is it? Yes sir. 2012. Yeah, that's what I'm telling. Here, no, I search for only 3.x version. Then it will provide other things also. Then if you see, then what I given there, then if we go for that Hibernate 6, there we are able to get it. Don't worry. So that's why it's shown only three related things only. Yeah, see this one in the URL also what we are having there, Hibernate 3. That's why we are getting what there, Hibernate 3 content. Don't worry. Then initial programming, I want to start with 3 version. Next of 4th version, next of 5th. The next one is what there, 6th version. That at one time, no, majority of the course we are going to see at 6th version of the Hibernate only. I'll show that. Don't worry for it. Even this 3.x version program will also run under what there 6.x. Directly we can run it, but initially I'm showing this point here. I'll show that. Try to follow my approach now. Easily we are able to understand it. Click on this one here. All right, sir. Now Hibernate distribution 3.6. Final distribution zip is available. Tar is not required. This zip here we have to get. Now let me click on this one. Yeah, yeah, it's starting now. It start downloading. That's it. Clear. Downloading is completed almost all. Now let us check this clearly. In the form of what we are getting is a zip file. Here it is downloading. What it is downloading there? Zip file. Just select it. Go to the location. Here this is existed. Let me copy this or cut it. E drive. Inside the E drive, I want to keep all my softwares in a particular location. Softwares. Inside the softwares. All right, sir. Then what we have to do there? Frameworks. Inside these frameworks, Hibernate. Yeah, 3.6.0 final is already available, right, with me. Just it is asking about what the replacement. That means the same zip file already existed here now, not required to replace it now. Got it or not? Right click on it, extract here. If you click on it, automatically this folder will be generated. If I extract this folder will be generated. If you open this folder, what we are getting there now? Change log. If you get there, changes in 3.6.10 now. Some information they have given there about this. Version 3.6.9 or something else. No, some information here we are getting. License related information. It's okay. No problem. Right, sir. So here we are getting this one. Documentation is available here. If you want to get any documentation for it, just we can go for it. Quick start documentation is available. Now HTML file is available about this Hibernate. Directly we can go through what their index now. Hibernate getting started. Index is available. There we can select either of the things. Next button is available. Click on next now. Then we are able to get some details about this Hibernate. Click on next one here. How we are going to install. Then what exactly each and every one. The documentation related configuration file. Hibernate configuration file details here we are able to get. Entity Java class and everything. Whatever the information we require there through documentation here we are able to open it. Just leave this one. I don't require this content now immediately. All right, sir. Now here project, it's okay. Some other libraries or maybe some other content is available. It's okay. It is not required for me. Even my requirement is what the lib folder. What I require here? Lib folder I require. Inside this lib folder, mandatory jars are available inside the required folder. What jars are available here? These are all what they're mandatory jars. Understand my point now? So these we must keep them inside the build path in Eclipse ID. It is mandatory. If you want to run a hello world program, required this total required jars we have to keep in what their build path mandatory. You should not miss out even a single one. Then apart from this, another one Hibernate JP also. If we keep that in the future, we are not going to get any problem. In the future, we are able to get advantage. With this, we are able to finish our what there almost all half of the Hibernate applications with this. Understand it here. Next, depending on the requirement, optional jars are available for connection pooling mechanisms. We have to use this. C3P0 connection pooling mechanism is available. Okay, proximal connection pooling mechanism. Next one is what there? Some cache, OS cache, something else. Right, JBoss cache. Right, sir? Like this. Optional. Bytecode related, the CGLib and Java system, the jar files here. But in some situations, we need to get these two also. Java sys also we can be required in some other situations. But depending on the requirement, we are going to add all the jar files one by one clearly. But at present, we are going to use what there? That mandatory jar files only we are going to use. That's it, guys. Now, this is the way to download what there. This is a way to download what there. Hibernate related, Hibernate softwares and all the content here what we are getting. Just 1 minute now. Then from here we need to get this download, right? Let me copy this location. I'm going to give this location to you. There we can utilize it. All right, sir. This location. Next one is Then what next one here? Just this is the downloading of it. Next one is what there. If we download Hibernate software, then we will get what there zip file. Okay, extract zip file. Then we will get folder. Folder it contains all the required Hibernate jar files. Right, sir. That's it. This is about like what the installation process of this total content. Next one is the second step here. What I'm telling to you about this second step. Create Java project. Create Java project in Eclipse IDE and attach all the Hibernate dependent jar files in the build path. This we have to do now. Now let me list out the jar files what are required minimum. All right, sir. After creating Java project in the Eclipse IDE, provide the following jar files. Provide the following jar files inside the project build path. Right. So now just I want to give some list of jar files here. Now let us take that list now. Understand it. First of all of you observe carefully. Hibernate 3 dot jar is required. What is required, sir? Hibernate 3 dot jar. This is minimum. First one is required. Hibernate 3 dot jar. Next one is inside this Hibernate 3 dot jar lib required. Now okay, just 1 minute of it. One time I want to list out all of them. Don't worry. One time only we are going to do this, but of course I can give that folder information also, but let me provide this one time only. Commons collection is required. So this is DOM jar file is for the sake of parsing XML documents. Commons collection is what there for the sake of collection support, and a DOM is for the sake of like what there XML parsing. We are providing configuration details inside the XML file or not? Mapping details and configuration details now. So that Hibernate software must read or not? To read these configuration details or mapping details from XML file, we need some parser. That parser is what there DOM parser. It uses internally. Next one is after this. Observe carefully. Java system. For the sake of bytecode generation internally, for the sake of manipulating bytecode internally, it required this one. Java system is required. Next one is what there. After this, what next one here now? Transaction support is required or not? Hibernate is providing very good transaction support. For the sake of providing the transaction support, it must have what the JTA, Java Transaction API support. JTA, jar file is required. That is mandatory. Alright, sir. JTA is required. Apart from this JTA, next one is logging. Logging purpose. Log4j was used previously. Log4j, but of course, in some cases, still that log4j is used there. But the next level of the log4j is what there? SLF4j. Extension of the log4j is what there? SLF4j. Now we are getting that SLF4j. Yes, sir, got it or not? This is one thing. Next one is observe carefully. Apart from the apart from all the above jar files, understand it now. Hibernate will interact with the databases or not? So it will establish connection with the database or not? Understand it here? Then it will establish connection with the database or not? That means it will perform internally class.forName method. It will execute connection con is equal to driver.get connection. It will create statement. It will create prepared statement. The total JDBC code is going on inside the Hibernate. So it has to establish the connection internally. Okay. All right, sir. To establish the connection, driver class is required. Driver class is required or not? The what driver we are going to use in our applications now? In general, what is the driver we are, for example, if it is Oracle database now, Typho driver here we are going to use or not? The Typho driver jar file must be appended to the class path or not? In a build path or not? So now the point is what? Apart from all the above jar files, we must add driver jar file in the project build path. Driver jar file we must provide in what their project build path. It is mandatory. Right, sir. What are the jar files here? Driver build path, driver jar files. No. If you have these points here, now see this one and C drive. For example, if it is Oracle 21 XE, DB home XE, JDBC, lib, OJDBC 11.jar file. That what we required. OJDBC 11.jar file. Clear? If we use what there? Oracle database. But if we use MySQL database, no. MySQL connector is required or not? C drive, program files x86, MySQL, inside this connector J 8.0 is available. Here we can understand it. MySQL connector, MySQL connector J, the jar file here we required. This is another one here we have to add. Depends on your database, what driver we want to add there, that we have to provide. Clear to all of you know? Right, sir. This is completed. So finally, create Java project in Eclipse IDE. We know already how to create the Java project here. But what jar files we have to keep inside the project build path? I listed all the jar files. These are max jar files what we required. These are the 7 jar files from Hibernate. One jar file is from what there? One jar file is from what there? Driver, database driver, right? JDBC driver. So by this we are able to complete it clearly. All right, next one after that. Now coming to the next one here. Create a POSO class. Create what class? POSO class. Right, sir. What is that next one here we have to do there? Create a POSO class. Now observe carefully. What is this POSO class? What is the meaning of this POSO class? POSO class is a Java bean class. See, Java bean is a basic one. For this, so many names are available. Depending on the frameworks or depending on the tools, we are going to use different names. If we take Spring, directly we are saying that bean. If we take Hibernate, directly we are saying that entity or POSO class, for example. Inside the Spring also POSO class. Here also be POSO class. That's okay. If we take JSF, backing bean. If we take struts framework, action form. Understand it here. So depending on the, if we take EJBs now, a Java bean, there we are going to take EJBs, entity beans we are going to take. Like this, different names are available for Java beans now. Java bean is a basic one. Now the POSO class is what there? POSO class is a Java bean class. It must not allow or it must not extend or implement predefined library. It must not extend or must not implement predefined library. Right, sir. POSO class is a Java bean class now. Gotcha. But how we are going to prepare these POSO classes? I think if you attended Spring Framework, they are given the required information there, almost all the points now. But again, it is a repetition here. Try to understand it now. All right, how we are going to prepare this POSO class now? To prepare, okay, first of all, what is the purpose of this POSO class? What is the need of this POSO class? The POSO class is required in order to create persistence objects. In order to create what there persistence, see, object I want to create. So definitely we require what there class. Persistence object. Hibernate, inside the Hibernate we are going to create data in the form of objects only. That objects are called as what their persistence objects. Directly that objects are going to be stored inside what their database table. Directly the objects are going to be stored into what their database table in the form of records only. So that objects are called as what their persistence object. To prepare these persistence objects, there we have to use what their POSO classes only. Right, sir. Now observe carefully. POSO class is Java being class. It must not extend or implement any predefined library. To prepare POSO classes, we have to use the following rules and regulations. To prepare POSO classes, we have to use the following rules and regulations. What are the various rules and regulations? First, observe carefully. As per the Hibernate, I am telling you, try to understand it. Prepare POSO classes as per the database tables. Prepare POSO classes as per the database tables and their columns. As per their columns. EMP1 table here I have taken. ENO, ENAME, ECell, EADD properties I have taken. Same. Names may not be matched, but data types must be matched. In a POSO class, we have to take all properties as per the database table name and columns there. Okay, names need not to be matched there, but the data types must be compatible. For example, in the database table, number type is available. That we cannot take, that we should not take in a POSO class as a string type. You must take it as a numeric type. It may be integer, or it may be float, or it may be longer, that doesn't matter. In the database table, if it is a numeric value, automatically inside the POSO class also it should be like what there? A numeric value that we have to take. Understand my point, Ken? Right. The note kind of point is what I'm telling there. In this case, POSO class name and its properties are need not to be matched with the table name and its column names. But we must provide, we must maintain the compatible data types. We must maintain what are the compatible data types. Right, sir. Now come again. POSO, prepare POSO class as per the database tables and their columns. In this case, POSO class name and its properties need not be matched with the table name and its column names. But we must maintain the compatible data types. Understand it clearly. What are the compatible data types? At least now we have to understand it clearly. Number type is available in the case of Oracle database, for example. If it is a number type, no. Equivalent numeric types in our Java side is what there? Int, long. Of course, now get long, that's okay, and so on. Got my point or not? If it is varchar2 at our Oracle side, equivalent types are like what there now? Just we can take like what there? String type. Got my point or not? That compatibility we have to maintain, but names need not to be matched. See, the names are not matched. That's why we are using mapping file. In mapping file, what we are doing there? Providing mapping between table name and class name, properties names and column names. There we are providing mapping names because of incompatible names now. But types must be same. Type must be compatible. This is point number 1 here we have to do now. Point number 2. In POSO classes, we must provide a set of xxx methods, and get xxx method for each and every property. Damn sure it is required. Why sir? Why it is required now? For example, when we are retrieving data from database table, internally what happen? Internally, Hibernate software will read column by column by value from the records. The data must be assigned to what there? Must be assigned to the bean object. When the data is assigned to the bean object, directly it will call internally setter method. Directly it calls internally what method there? Setter method. Whenever it is calling setter method, no, but setter method is required or not for each and every property. Through the setter method, it is able to provide the data. That's okay. Leave it now. For example, I want to save employee object into the database table. Save of employee, we provide it now. Then internally, what Hibernate software will do? Hibernate software will take that employee object, then it will get the data from the properties from the employee object. How it is able to get data from the each and every property of this employee object? No, just by executing getter method. See, Hibernate, whenever we are calling save of employee object, Hibernate has to get data from this employee object. The data must be stored into the database table or not. So first Hibernate software has to get data from the employee object or not. To get the data from this employee object, it will use internally getter methods. Got my point or not? So because of this reason, in a Hibernate, inside the POSO classes, for every property, we must maintain what? A separate set of set method and get method. Set method is to retrieve the data from database to set the data to the POSO object. Get method, when we want to insert data into the database table, definitely Hibernate software must access what their getter methods to get the data from POSO class object and to send the data to the database table. Is that all of you are getting it or not? Okay. So this is the second point here we have to understand. Next one is a normal bean property only. In a POSO class, declare all properties as a private and declare all setters and getters, whatever it may be, all methods as a public. That's right. From core Java onwards, we are discussing about this punch. What is the need of declaring properties as private? What is the need of declaring all behaviors are public? No. For the sake of what? Encapsulation. To improve what there? Encapsulation. Why? Because if we declare a variable as a private, no, we are unable to access it in outside. But if you want to set data to the property, if you want to get the data from property, then what we have to do? We need to use setters and getters only. That means data must be passed through setters and getters only. Data must be passed through methods in the sense inside the methods, data and coding part both are combined, both are wrapped. So wrapping up of data and coding part is called as what there? Encapsulation. To improve encapsulation only, here we are going to provide what there? This particular content. This is one point. Next one is yeah, do one thing. Then next points I need to go for more explanation. Then tomorrow I'll explain about all these points here, more points here. So then up to third point here we completed. Remaining few more points are available. They may take some explanation there. Tomorrow we'll see about that content here. So tomorrow max will finish this total POSO class content there. Then at least I'll start with the mapping file and Hibernate configuration file content here. But client application will take again some time here. Test application will take some time now. Probably, if it is possible, then on this Sunday, I'm going to take somewhat extra session for Hibernate. I'm thinking about Hibernate is a bit lagging, no? Let me complete the first applications. All of you are okay on this Sunday? But if you are coming only, less members are available. Only 2 to 3 members are coming now. It's going to be down. No response. Okay, I'll discuss on tomorrow about this Sunday's class, no? But I have a plan. I'm ready to take that class. At least if you, anyway, don't worry. Then I'm taking more online classes for you, but no need to worry for it. I'm not having any intention of it. 2 days of time project issue is going on there. That's why I'm taking the class in online. But some days I have to take the class in online. Don't worry for it. But few days of time only. But regularly I'm going to take the class in offline only. Don't worry for it for regarding this. But on Sunday class we'll decide about it tomorrow, right? If all of you are okay, fine, then I'll go for it. Okay. That's it. Thank you. We'll meet in tomorrow. Tomorrow, same time. Tomorrow, regular timings and regular classes.